Welcome to Root Talks, a simple program of trustworthy AI. And in today's episode, we have a very interesting guest from one of the Northern European leading companies in its industry with more than 2,000 employees, the head of digital strategy, Lauri Pulkka from Newsec. Welcome.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I thought that I could introduce you by being a humanist by heart, but as a twist, you have also PhD in technology and innovation. So it's a kind of an interesting thing that you have them both included, and today you work with AI. Is that correct?
That is a fact.
Yeah. But before we get to the actual topic of today, as any good evaluators, those need to be calibrated. So I was thinking that as a warm-up, we calibrate a bit, and Sam Altman, the OpenAI CEO, has said that they know how to get to the AGI in the upcoming, let's say, near or foreseen future. But what is your evaluation of this? How truthful you think this comment is in the typical scale from 0 to 1? What kind of score you would give it for it, and what kind of justification you see behind that score?
Yeah, I give it as vague 0.65.
Okay.
And I am absolutely sure that they know what they're going to attempt to get there. I think their timeline might be a bit ambitious. And with AGI always, I think the goalpost will move the closer they get to it. So we'll see about it.
Yeah, that is usually what has happened. Of course, now things are happening so fast that you never know what next Monday will bring. But it's a good score, 0.65. You can start calibrating more there and get upwards and get to the expected score, whatever it will be in your business. But okay, from the warm-up then more to the actual warm-up questions. How you ended up working with AI in the first place, like Newsec as an employer. Let's talk about that a bit later. But as a humanist becoming a PhD in technology, what brought you the topic of AI in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, how did I get into anything in the first place? I studied political science and Finnish literature, and the jump from that to real estate was sort of divine intervention. Just being at the gym with friends who had collected some quantitative data they didn't know how to analyze, helping them out, getting along with the professor in real estate economics, doing my master's thesis there, then starting my PhD there, getting into innovation research, and then meeting my boss at Newsec, or my previous boss at Newsec, who then heard I left academia and recruited me to Newsec. So I don't know if how much I've contributed to my own decisions in life. But at Newsec, I started 8 years ago as a digitalization project manager. So I've been responsible for implementing different kind of systems, different kind of technologies, from that to a development manager, to head of innovation. And now for a year, I've worked in Newsec on group level as head of digital strategy. And how I see my role, it is to coordinate our digitalization efforts and dig resources across all of our business areas and markets to get the best outcomes. And AI is just one of those technologies you cannot ignore at the moment. And at Newsec, we've called our AI approach officially the AI initiative since last March, and I was appointed head of that initiative.
Yeah, okay. So not maybe the first mover on this, but maybe also the industry that is not the first mover in digitalization in general. But how do you see this as a magnitude or AI in general, that how big impact you believe it will have on business of Newsec?
Well, the first comment on the first mover thing, of course, for something to become a group level initiative, it means there has to have been some grassroots experimentation. And I think with that experimentation, with all technologies, Newsec has historically been very early in the scene. But of course, then that typically remains experimentation within a team or with a few individuals. So I think we were very early in experimentation, but now we have a more systemic approach to it since March. But then what the impact will be, that is a very good question. And I think it's as good a question, what investments are and what actions are categorized as AI investments and AI actions, because for 5 years we have had a very systematic program investing into data and having all our data available, structured, modeled together, utilizable in our business. And in the AI age, that is a huge competitive advantage, having all that having all that data available for AI use as well. So if we look at sort of actions that we've done to facilitate the use of AI, then I'd say we are much further than many companies I've discussed this with. If we look at only implementing AI technologies, AI algorithms, then we're of course still early. And how I see the future, I'm very much a believer in overestimating the short term, underestimating the long term. And I see a lot of parallels with other technologies as well. For example, I mean, the scale might be different, but for example, robotic process automation. I mean, there was a lot of talk, it will replace everybody within the next 2 years. All routine tasks will be roboticized. I mean, that's not how it worked out in the end, but we do have software robots running at Newsec doing significant tasks. So I think in the short term, it'll be something similar with AI. It'll not make every human obsolete immediately, but we will see that some of that AI hype sticks to every organization.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That's for the warm-up. But for the people who are watching this and are not familiar with Newsec as a company as a whole, how would you pitch Newsec in a couple of sentences and lines? What is Newsec all about and what you are actually doing as a business?
Well, we are a full-service property house. So meaning that we do everything with real estate except own properties at the moment. Our main business areas are property asset management and advisory services. So advisory is typically real estate consultancy with valuations, transactions, investment management. And then property asset management is taking care of the properties, doing the operational management of properties.
And as a head of digital strategy, what do you actually concretely do? What you have been doing this week or during January and February so far?
Oh, that is an awkward question. Next. No, as I mentioned, I do have a role in pretty much everything digitalization. So of course, my title is Head of Digital Strategy. But I don't believe in only doing PowerPoints or Word documents about strategy. So I do like to get pretty hands-on. So I have been creating prompts also on the Root Signals platform. I do like to get involved in the development still as much as I can. I have been discussing our overall IT landscape, our sort of applications, how the dynamic works between what we maintain as a group and what we do within business, as close to the business as possible. We call that the shared operating model in IT. So we have, for example, our common data platform that is maintained and managed centrally. And then we have all these teams in the business that do the front-end BI development and utilize that essential competence. So I've been having a lot of those discussions in the areas of data, also AI, a bit in information security with our CISO, things like this. Very varied week.
Very, very interesting. Because I believe many enterprise companies, they're thinking that how they would like to model the AI or bring the AI, and who are the people who are bringing transformation. And it's really fascinating to see what the different type of titles there are, different type of roles and units are dealing with the AI today, because it's so, I would say, overwhelmingly taking over so many units. So interesting to hear how Newsec has approached it. But could you tell a bit more, because we are anyhow talking about trustworthy AI today and a bit how would I say, interface between humans and AI and how AI can be trusted. That what is your actually business and the humans and the people, what are they typically doing in their daily life, and how AI is most likely going to be impact that work in short term, or already has impacted, and then if you can give a couple of comments on the longer term perspective as well, because you have both like operations and then you have consultation business in your company.
That is again a complex question, but I like to sometimes say that Newsec is it's 10 companies masquerading as one. So when you say sort of what typical Newsec employees do in their daily lives, then who is a typical Newsec employee? Is it the capital markets consultant who is doing real estate transactions, or is it the accountant? So we have hundreds of accountants, but then I wouldn't call Newsec only an accountancy like company. It's not only financial management. So it has very they're not separate, but it has distinct functions that have very distinct system needs, also from an IT perspective. So we have very specialized business applications for these different functions, and the roles are very different. The daily sort of routines look very different. So we have that end where you have these routine processes, very large volumes, and then we have the other end where you have the very sort of high-end consultancy, very customized inputs, outputs in your work. So I don't know what is typical, but we of course have to serve all of the business areas, looking from the group IT perspective. And then, what are the common elements? And AI is, I think, one of those common elements. And I'm referring again to the shared operating model. So we want to make some common technological platforms available for business use. And now, one of the tricky questions at the moment on my table is, how do you organize an AI platform so both the accountant and the transaction consultant can benefit from that platform in their work?
Yeah, if we get a bit deeper to that now, when you lifted it up, because that's interesting. Many enterprises are thinking about this enterprise adoption and what platforms they are choosing, and yeah, we can probably reveal it that Newsec is a root signals customer, but that's not the main point. The main point is to understand the Gen AI or AI adoption as a whole. So what kind of choices you have made when it comes to the platforms, and how Root Signals is integrated as part of that?
I think we're quite pragmatic when it comes to our selection of platforms. So we are a Microsoft house in many regards. So it is of course easy for us to also look at the Microsoft offering for AI platforms. So we have just implemented the Azure AI Foundry. I guess it was called Azure AI Studio still a few months ago. So that is, I'd say, the general tooling that we're now looking at, where we start to build our, especially the AI for process automations. At the same time, we are looking at personal productivity tools. As I mentioned, like we have these consultancy roles where the personal productivity tools still provide both employee satisfaction, quality of work, but possibly also efficiency and productivity in work. And there is a dynamic between the two as well. So when we offer personal productivity tools to our employees, and they use Copilot, for example, in their work, they of course come up with good prompts, good use cases. They realize their capabilities quicker, what AI is good for, or language models are good for, and what they absolutely are not good for, at least yet. And then those use cases from the personal productivity journey can become ideas, templates for the process automation journey as well. So we try to encourage that journey, and as an approach, we do coordinate the personal productivity tool use, we gather best practices, and then we look at those cases and how can we take it from an individual level to possibly a team level or possibly company level, or how can we make it client facing? How can our clients directly benefit from these efforts as well? And then what role Root Signals plays in this, I see, and this is coming back to the pragmatism, I see two roles. One, when I was first introduced to the platform, what immediately caught my attention was sort of the simplicity of creating AI skills and the conceptualization of what an AI skill is. It is a card, you select a model, you fill in the prompt, and then you can call it from your own applications through the API, which it already offers you. So it's just copy pasting into your own code, and you can embed LLMs really efficiently. And Microsoft is good in many ways, but simplicity is not always the main selling point. So I think starting to develop these prompts, these AI skills in the Root Signals platform gave us a sort of head start into thinking, okay, how do we in practice embed LLMs into our own workflows? So we have good experiences from that. But of course, it's not going to be the sort of the long-term production environment for our prompts. The long-term value from Root Signals comes from offering the sort of the security to put things into production, the confidence to put things into production. So it is, for me at least, the best way I've seen how the outputs of AI can be evaluated, assessed, like how you can actually trust generative AI. So you just don't, because our goal is not to only use Gen AI to produce outputs that a human then goes through to validate. Our goal is to take some tasks, some processes, some activities in our company, have AI and other process automation technologies do all of it, and then only highlight the issues that are identified in those processes. And without some sort of a tool technology for identifying those issues and to verify that the outputs of Gen AI are correct or sensible or purposeful, I wouldn't have the confidence to put anything into production. Like I would absolutely not dare do it. You can always automate to that point where humans go through every output, but that is not taking the task away from anyone. That is just shortening the time it takes to complete that task, or reducing human input as just oversight for machines. I think what we want to do is free up our employees' time to create more value to our clients.
Yeah, that makes sense. A very, very interesting idea. Many companies are thinking of this. There has been a lot of talks about we will think this as a support for our humans and things like that. And of course, as you said, it is also that, but the magnitude is so much different if you can automate something completely. And I believe that's why there's so much more of talks about the agentic workflows, even though that is kind of like a buzzword that everything is agent now, but getting there that something is more automated from A to Z is probably the way to go. But if we get a bit more concrete on those things, what are the cases or use cases, very tangible things that you have on the table right now, or what is about to be automated, or you're automating at the moment directly from your business, as much as you can open it for the audience here? What kind of concrete use cases you are doing at the moment?
I guess I'm gonna give another complex answer to a simple question. So I absolutely see an evolution of use cases that are proposed to me, and I've used this analogy before, that the first use cases that people had were what I call crutches. They support you overcome something when it's broken, but optimally you'd not like to have it broken in the first place. And as an example, for example, extracting data from agreements or property valuation reports. getting that data from a PDF and putting it into a structured format, getting all the key things from there so we can do analytics on it and we can do actionable insights on that data. It's a very common use case. Gen AI is very good at reading PDFs. Validating the outputs gives us confidence that actually the numbers we are getting from those documents are correct, but it's not like the qualitative transformation that I expect us to have from AI. It is fixing something that shouldn't have been broken. Like we shouldn't have a process where key data from agreements is not structured in the first place, or from valuations is not structured in the first place. So of course, when we identify these kind of use cases, our first question is, well, has the process been fixed? So is this kind of like a one-time thing? We do these 10,000 documents and then we can just be done with this automation. I wouldn't want to have these bubblegum fixes in place instead of a good process. So we started with these crutch cases, and they are good because they demonstrate the abilities of LLMs. They're pretty easy to implement. So we do data extraction now. We put it into our data warehouse, but now the evolution is moving towards from crutches is moving to towards the other end, what I call the jetpack end of the spectrum. So the qualitative difference, that completely different reality from before. Because to be honest, I don't think only gaining efficiency, I don't think it's a very motivating message for anyone. Why would anybody pursue AI, a risky new technology, for a 20% efficiency gain? And how do I get my colleagues excited about AI if the only prospect is that they will be automated out of jobs? That is not the best use of AI, and that is absolutely, it is a part of it. That is part of innovation, that things become more efficient. But the much more interesting part of innovation is the qualitative change. So what is that? This continuous lead or the radical transformation we're doing. So what is the jetpack? And we're moving towards it. I'm not saying we're there yet. I don't think we've identified all the jetpacks, but I do think that we are now proposing many more client-facing things we have implemented. For example, AI-powered chatbots towards our residential tenants. Pretty common use case, I think, in this user service. We are definitely looking at client-facing things in our client portal, as well as on our website. More on that later. We have just invested, as I mentioned before, a lot in our data warehouse. So digging actionable insights from that data, I think that is one of our main key initiatives. How can we produce more, more feeds to our research teams, to our client managers when they go meet a client? How can they chat with that client data before to understand better what is going on in those clients' properties? I think that is one of the things we're looking at as well.
Okay, thank you. It's sounds that it's a very, very, very typical, let's say, transformation and movement, and what has been a positive.
Kalle, may I add one thing?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'll just add one thing. So I think one of the things we've learned during our AI journey is that we don't need to look at the the whole output or the whole process immediately, but actually it's been much easier to work with splitting whatever it is, whether it is a valuation report or an accounting process. It's much easier for us to work splitting it into 20 different outputs and then identifying the easiest ones. And typically that is, it can be, for example, 50% of these actions are easy to automate or AI compatible or something like this. And we can start with that, and we can make a rapid, significant impact on our colleagues' lives through, just taking few chunks out of those processes. So it's not like black and white for us that we need to automate the whole thing or do it all at once. Of course, I mentioned before, like the end goal is to look at entire holistic processes, but as we're still early in the journey, like actually most of our processes consist of tens of sub-processes, which we look at sort of individually. And that AI is absolutely not the answer for all of these sub-processes either.
Yeah, I think that is a good to keep in mind that invest in use cases that there's a real value and something that can be quantified and then really get the buy-in from the whole organization. But
I should also add when it is about sort of tangible processes. I mean, it's not only our development, right? Like it's not only what Newsec does in AI. There are a million companies now producing software that has AI capabilities. So of course, when I look at Newsec as a whole, maybe we can produce more client value by embedding other third-party AI software into our processes in selected areas. Like maybe we'll never do a better accounts payable solution than our supplier. So those third-party solutions, the different tech companies with their offerings, they complement us in selected areas as well. And the offerings are typically very tangible. So I've seen that those have become quite quickly quite specialized, offering, this AI tool helps you lease properties. It helps you create scripts for cold calls in real estate leasing, this type of tangibility.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it seems to be like the phenomena that there are very, very, very niche and targeted agents, if you may call, or applications. But yeah, to the actual beef of the day, the trustworthy AI then, because what has been maybe the if not surprise, but that has gave me the most positive insight regarding Newsec during these times we have collaborated is that you are moving very systematically forward and there is like a really clear strategy and drive where are you going into and as from quite early stage you have brought in this trustworthy AI or evaluation of the LLM outputs and the quality assurance, observability, monitoring, all the aspects that Root Signals provides as one of the key aspects of why you believe you have chosen to do so and like why it's important for your business that the AI is trustworthy, because many misconceptions might say that the models are just getting better and we are going forward, but what has been your reasoning for trustworthy AI from the early on?
The simple answer is that generative AI is so good at mimicking correct answers that you easily get fooled that it is less work to automate things than it in reality is. And we would never recruit a person that mimics correct answers. So why would we outsource our work towards our clients to a machine that mimics a correct answer? And a success percentage of 75, it's not enough to put something in production in accounting. So it needs to be very, very, very good. Humans are not 100%, but they are more than 75. So without any validation, to again quote myself, like we wouldn't have the confidence to put these things into production. We wouldn't be able to trust the outputs enough because you wouldn't know whether it's actually mimicking something correct or whether it is factually correct, that information. And I think the cost of validating is negligible to the effort it takes, and also through validation you get additional benefits like the paper trail of what you've done. Sort of when you for example the Root Signals platform, it gives you also a log of what you have, what prompts you have done, what use cases you have used AI on, and we know that regulation is tightening around this. So it is also future-proofing yourself. And I think if you're just rushing to achieve the automation results and the improved efficiency by 15% without considering the need to evaluate or the really ensure the quality of those outputs, I think there can be backlash. And I don't think the reputation risk or the liabilities that you expose yourself to without validation is worth the gains.
Yeah.
Maybe if we had some completely transformative 5 million% increase in our margins use case, like maybe I'd be more tempted or something, but no, I think it is worth doing it well.
Yeah.
Because then, and it's not only our clients, or it's also the employees. I mean, we are implementing AI for them to be better at their work, for them to also grow as professionals, for them to have more responsible roles in the value chain, hopefully. What if they see AI making a lot of mistakes? Why would they help sort of develop it if they lose faith in it? And if they, consider it a black box that they don't understand what's happening inside? So I think the validation also sends the message that we do care and we do want to improve this process.
Yeah, makes sense. There has been a lot of discussion around the hallucination, of course, when it comes to evaluation and validation. That is one part of it, but then there's the other part, which is more the quality or the sentiment and how well the AI and AI agents in the future, how well they represent, for example, Newsec in that case. How do you see the role of evaluation there going forward? That you can actually not only control and guardrail, but also, let's say, guide and give kind of a hint at how our AI should be behaved next to our employees, for example.
Yeah, I'm by no means the technical expert in this. How I've rationalized it to myself is that it is also sort of part of that teaching or learning process on that prompt, that it improves, and when you just give it more and more examples of the tone you want to see in the outputs, it you get more and more assurance that it is speaking in the correct tone or voice of Newsec. We have few use cases where the voice or the tone is important, but at the same time, is it the tone of Newsec or is it the tone of our experts we want to emphasize? I mean, we are a company whose main value is passion for colleagues and clients, in that order. So I don't know how passionate it is if we have one voice within Newsec. So I think we need to experiment more. How can AI help our professionals talk in their own tone and own voice, and not just an average tone of all Newsec employees, which is probably very boring and vague.
Yeah, and nobody is interested in it. And now the humanists in you make the technology nicely towards the end of that thing, because I really believe in that actually the power is in the people, not on the logo.
I mean, you recognize when an article is written by AI and nobody's put like a personal touch on it. It's boring to read. Yeah. And they increase the amount of those articles, the amount of content written by AI. It's just going to increase, and it's going to be very dull and boring. And we don't want to be the dull, boring company. We want to be the professional but fun company.
Who can bring maybe through the experts for the AI the instructions needed.
Yeah. So when we go out to the public, I mean, probably for a long time, AI will be used to spar with the expert, but we probably still want the expert's voice to be heard. And of course, there are announcements which are supposed to be boring and unpersonalized. For that, yeah, sure. Like, we can use validators to guarantee that this is in the very sort of real estate-y jargon and very professional and gray, the tone of the message. But for our professionals who comment on the real estate industry, I'd be disappointed if people just spam AI content online.
Yeah, I understand, of course. But yeah, if you could summarize it, Root Signals has brought you faster forward in the testing and experimenting stage, providing your development resources, opportunities to get forward to the actual automations and then bringing the evaluation stack to improve the quality and ensure the quality in production. But if you would summarize towards the end now, then what is the concrete thing that Roots has brought to you, and why you chose to collaborate with Roots in the first place?
There is some serendipity, of course, running into you guys at the correct time when I was just appointed as sort of head of the AI initiative. There's no denying that, but I think it is the company that is most convincing at the moment, talking about the evaluation and validation of Gen AI that I've met. And I think, to summarize, it is without that component, it can never surpass the piloting and experimentation stage reliably. So having learned about that sort of necessary, sometimes boring back end, makes actually the AI journey more exciting, because you can sort of, you have something to lean on, that this is not going to fail miserably, that we actually know. How to implement these things successfully.
Yeah, sounds really good. But yeah, then we have the final comment section here, and Shakespeare once said that love all, trust a few, and do no harm for any. So I really hope that AI will do no harm for any. That's probably something that the world is excited about going the years forward. But what is your opinion? Should we trust AI?
Yes, but not blindly.
Thank you, Lauri Pulkka, and this was the Root Talks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.